Hello everyone. Welcome to this panel about where we talk about the future of hyper-casual games in 2023, or rather also cover some state of the current industry. My name is Balaji. I'm the head of publishing for Sunday. We are a Hamburg-based developer and publisher in the ad monetized space. So here with me, we have panelists from different players in the space. So I'll just let you guys introduce yourself. So maybe a line about you and your company. So you would like to go first?
Sure, I'll go. Someone else is going? No worries. Anyway, so I'm Ayush. I'm a publishing manager at Supersonic from Unity. As you know, we publish hybrid and hyper-casual games. Supersonic from Unity is an industry-leading publishing solution with a lot of games ranked in top 10. And by harnessing an incredible amount of game growth expertise, Supersonic enables game developers to turn their games into a scalable business. And yeah.
Thank you, Ayush. And thank you, Balaji. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Pankaj. I'm a part of SocialPeta. We are an ad intelligence platform. Been into business for the last 8 years in India for more than 2 years now. We are providing different solutions to game publisher, the app publishers. So, I mean, my website has a lot of information about the company, and if you would like to, take the advantage of the tool, you can reach out to us. All the information would be on the website. Thank you all.
Hey everyone, my name is Aman. So I'm working as a head of accounts at ClearPier, and we provide our clients like run user acquisition campaigns. We provide our own DSP, and we have our own offer wall as well if any client is interested in running that. So yeah, that's what we do at ClearPier, and that's
Hi guys, I am Arpit Jain. I am founder and CEO at GreedyGame. We have a cool new product called Pubscale. We work with multiple mobile apps and games and help them on retaining their users, increasing their revenue through ads, and increasing their users through different paid user acquisition channels. We've been in the industry for more than 9 years now and have had a chance to work with a lot of good gaming studios and non-gaming apps as well over this time.
Nice, thank you. So it's a nice collection of different players of this ecosystem, right? So who better than us to predict the future of casual games? So let me start by just stating the state of affairs, right? We all can agree there's been major headwinds in the mobile games industry at large, but I think the biggest impact has been on the ad monetized game space, or rather what was tagged as so-called hyper casual games, right? But the word hyper-casual itself seems to be a little bit, vague, underused or overused. I don't know. People have different definitions right now, but let's call it, for clarity's sake, games that are majorly ad monetized or marketed towards mass market audience, right? That's what we all do in different parts of this ecosystem. So I think nothing better signifies this. Guru, who we can all agree is a pioneer in the hyper-casual space, said like hyper-casual is dead to us. I think it caused a lot of flutter in the industry and a lot of scare and confusion as well. But for me, it was like it just signaled like a major pivot of strategy, right? In the end, even today, most of their revenues comes from the ad monetized game space. So though they're changing few things, but I would like to hear like a thought from each one of you, like, as to how do you see these headwinds, or what do you think are the major change in strategies in this space? Like maybe you can start from Arpit.
Sure, Balaji. Yeah. So definitely we've seen the hyper casual gaming industry rise. I think since the last 5 to 6 years. Started 2018, 2019, we started seeing a lot of hyper casual games coming in the top 10 of the top 100 ranks in the countries. And probably COVID played a very significant role to suddenly increase the number of users, because with hyper casual, the good thing is that you don't have to spend a lot of time to play that game, right? When you are in between things, you can play quick 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and then you go off and then you log in again, play for another 10 minutes, and that's how we've seen a lot of time spent increasing during the COVID days. What I think what has kind of happened because of such good retention and which was translating into revenues was that a lot of publishers started focusing on hyper casual as a category, and creating games or hyper casual games obviously would take lesser time than implementing the right strategy, the right monetization, the right growth, and which kind of saw multiple publishers bringing in tons of hyper casual games on the market. I mean, if you just check the numbers between 2020 21 and 22, the number of hyper casual games went up by 5x or so. So with increasing competition, I think the strategies now are changing towards putting in more than just a game or just a gameplay for users, little bit story, little bit to increase the retention, and that's where the strategies are changing. I still see at least in countries like India, Indonesia, hyper casual is still big and is still growing, because the audiences are probably lagging in terms of when we compare ourselves with tier 1 markets. It would continue to grow, but yeah, I mean, in terms of the long term, you would now see much more competition, and publishers trying new strategies of combining hyper casual with other segments of gaming.
Cool. Who wants to go next? Ayush, maybe.
So yeah. Yeah, it's a great point of view from Arpit as well in terms of the rise of hyper casual during the COVID era as well. And it's not just hyper casual that rose, alongside COVID. All of the genres of the game, because people have more leisure time to spend on mobile and on laptops. So a lot of other genres evolved as well, but not as much as hyper casual. And when we say that the headwinds that we talked about, so it's a major thing that's coming through this new era of hybrid casual. So when we say hybrid casual versus hyper casual, I just want to clarify and add a statement to it that what we believe is hybrid casual is not instead of hyper casual. It's just it's an addition to hyper casual. So hyper casual will always have a market because user demand those kind of games. A lot of users want a 2-minute gameplay while they are riding to their office, or maybe just having a loo in their toilet. So those kind of games will always have a demand, and it's not going to be a dead category as of now. Example is let's say an iPhone. It started from just an iPhone with maybe 3 or 4 functionalities, but then later now what we use is a a bunch of tech elements evolved into a phone. So I think that's what hyper is also going to be evolved into hybrid, and also the monetization techniques also have to be based on that. And everyone, of course, every publisher knows this, and we have been tweaking our monetization system and the RV placements and whatnot according to the demands and according to the monetization of every game. So yeah, I think that's about it from my
You
end.
mentioned something interesting, right? Like you said, like there is still space for hyper casual, and hybrid is on top of it. It's not replacement. That's a good point. I mean, in the end, what we see, if you have to really define one major way of looking at the headwinds, is like the story of LTV greater than CPI. It's not true anymore, right? In this space, then doesn't matter you call it hyper casual or hybrid casual. And then in the end, earlier, always the pitch was, okay, the time spent to grow an existing game is more expensive than time spent to make a new game. And with this whole headwind going down, the stories change kind of, right? So any thoughts on how what would be, from a strategy point, how would you address, not you, but in general, how does anyone in this industry address? Because in the end, if the LTV is not greater than CPI anymore, the hyper casual story doesn't work out, right?
Of course,
Hey,
and that's what someone was saying. I think I'm sorry.
yeah, so
Good.
I just
I'll
wanted to share some strategies which we can use in current scenarios. So now in these games, there are many different strategies we can use. Like we can run a paid user acquisition campaign, which is the main type of a campaign every these app developers run. And to run these type of campaign, I think like they can use like social media websites like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and they can like also promote on their own website. So yeah, there are many things right now they can do. They can also use different ad networks where like who can create a strategy for them, or like ad networks who has a offer wall where you can promote their games. So yeah, there are like different strategies you can
So,
create.
just to be clear, what does this strategy address? The rising costs? You mean the strategies can be used to reduce the CPI or to increase the LTV?
Yeah, to reduce the CPI, like to reduce the CPI cost and to increase their ROI, they can create different types of strategies.
Interesting. Sorry, Ayush, you were saying something, but interrupted.
No worries, no worries. So I was just adding to the point that when you say that the LTV has to be higher or the CPI has to be lower in terms of the models of the monetization, I think it's very interesting that a lot of hybrid casual games that we term as hybrid casual these days, it's more or less dependent on ads only and not IAPs and whatnot. It's a very small SOV for IAPs when we talk about hybrid casuals. So I think leaning from interstitials to RVs is a big leap. So let's say in previously what we used to do is pop up an RV just for the sake of it. And that used to make up for the LTV. Like we need to be higher than CPI, and that used to do the job. But right now, what the thing is that because of the lower eCPMs that we are getting for interstitials, it's very important for us to address that and add a lot of meaningful RVs to the game. And when I say meaningful, I mean that it is correlated to the reward system or to the monetization system of the gameplay itself, and not just for the sake of it. So that's what the monetization system, when I talk about evolving it, is like adding meaningful RVs and having a lot of placements that makes user dive into it rather than just unpause ads that we used to do.
Oh, Pankaj,
Just
you
yeah,
have any
yeah. I
thoughts?
mean, you guys have actually covered everything. So, and which is really true. But just to add another point in it, since I mean, Arpit started saying that the hyper casuals they started really growing substantially since the COVID time, and then slightly drop in the recent past. But the thing is, like, there are a lot of player in the hyper casual games. They are and the same number of publishers as well. I think every publisher was actually interested towards the hyper casual gaming, and that created a competition within the industry, and that is actually intensifying. So there I mean, with everything which is easily available, and we have more choices, then we have to change the strategies as well, because these hyper casual games are not very classified, and I mean, we can have similar kind of gameplays from different publishers. So how we stand out in the crowd, so that's the main thing. Probably uh, people have to invest more using, I mean, different or UA campaigns, or maybe the ad promotions, or just to stand out in the crowd. That's what I feel. But the
Yeah,
hyper casual games are there forever. I mean, they are not going to dead. They may integrate to hybrid casual, as Ayush said, but they are forever. I mean, they have like the biggest and the widest audience. So I mean, they cannot be dead so easily. So immortal, I guess.
yeah, Pankaj, I completely agree to your point. So as the time is evolving, like there should be different strategies right now. Like some companies are doing like they are creating their meme and like posting it on like this Instagram and these Snapchats. And people are also like if they are creating their own handle, like we are creating new games for you guys, and they are promoting on their own channel. So which gives you a organic users, like if they have played your previous game, might be they are interested in your like new game or like what new you guys are trying. So yeah, like there are like as the time is changing, you need to like think of out of box, and like you need to create a different strategies. And a recent example you can see like while MS Dhoni was in a flight and he was like playing this Candy Crush, and they got like 3 million or 30 million downloads,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm.
Cool. So different points of views, right? Like what you, I mean, probably Dhoni's out of reach for most hyper casual publishers, but what you're trying to say is like look out avenues of influencers which was never looked at before. Look at other ways of like your growth which was not looked at, not pure inorganic growth, right? But look at also factors that will go hand in hand with inorganic and organic growth. And on the yes, I think we can all, the consensus seems to be hyper casual is not dead, it's changing. Some call it hybrid casual, some call it whatever, right? In the end, I heard 20 different definitions of hybrid casual. And I think each one of them has their own point of view of what hybrid casual means. But in the end, it looks like giving another tag to something that you want to do, right? And one of the best definitions of hybrid casual I heard is like, it really doesn't matter, monetization really doesn't matter. What hybrid casual just means, like, applying the lean cycles of hyper casual to like bigger games, right? In the end, the game and the engagement and your CPI decides whether you're going to go for majorly ad on rewarded videos or IAP. At the end, you can't slap IAP and expect a user to bring out their card and pay in a game they had never paid before, right? You're asking for a psychological change. You're rather than a behavioral change, right? It's like, for example, it's much easier to expect people to watch 8 ads compared to 4, provided you give that engagement, right? But if you're expecting someone to pay you like $10 when they have never paid for a game before, I mean, come on, you're not like Nintendo or something, right? That people are going to trust you. So I do think that there is like a big gap over there. So since we are all based in India, right? And we have different aspects of, let's call this like the hyper casual flywheel, right? There is publisher, developer, and earlier for the last 5 years, you put X in and 1.3X came out, and then at the speed of which this flywheel rotates is where everybody made money, right? So now this flywheel is breaking. Let's put it that way. That's the problem statement. How do you, and for the longest time, there were like few success stories from India, especially with publishers. I think, especially in the early days of like Supersonic guys, you guys have a couple of success stories. Voodoo has Collect Them All originated from India, right? And Stack It originated, like some of the biggest games originated from India. So how do you guys think the Indian developer ecosystem or the Indian games ecosystem is placed in the so-called changing landscape, right? Is it like, what are the strengths or what are the weaknesses that come into the play with this changing landscape? Any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe I'll take some points first. I think India, is a very good testing market for a lot of game developers. I'm sure Ayush can add more onto it. But the size of volume of users which are available, and also the CPI costs at which they are available, they give you a good idea of your game mechanics, how your user funnels are getting created, where is user actually retaining, what is it opting for. Obviously, in terms of cons, if you're looking at IAPs as one of the bigger chunks of your revenue projections, then it would be very difficult to get that in India as a market. But if you just want to get your games tested at a good scale without spending a lot of money, I think that is where India as a market really comes up. And even when we are talking about today, like hyper casual gaming downloads are going down, I mean, India is still rising, right? So we are still at a stage that
is it organic or inorganic that you see that's raising?
I mean, the overall number of users who have a smartphone has been rising, right? We have not, we are not even close to saturation levels yet, and that's where you would see, new games, or even the branded games would not have that much pull, which a new game might have, because users are just getting to know about it at the first time. So that's where I see, even both organic side and paid side. I've talked to a few publishers who never estimated that they would grow so well in the Indian market. They never prepared their games towards the market, and they still got a lot of installs and a lot of engagement, right? So even organic, or if you're talking about paid CPIs, the costs are 1/5 of tier 1 markets or even lower. So from both the perspective, I see that's a very good testing market. You can test your games at volume. You can figure out your crashes, your bugs. You can figure out some of your game loops. You can figure out how your ads are performing to a good extent, and then you can start kind of scaling up in different markets.
Couple of interesting points. Like one is the testing market angle, right? From at least from what I know of the use. I mean, in the end, at least from the publisher side, right? You're still trying to make, unless it's like indigenous games, you're still trying to make money in the Western markets, right? So in the test markets, you test for different scenarios, right? You basically first test for you do a lot of A/B tests for behavior, like testing the user behavior or engagement and stuff. So, but also you made a point saying like, it's also might be a market for growth, but is it a secondary market or a tertiary market? That's the question, right? So maybe one of you guys can weigh in on this. But do you see India as a test market or a growth market? And if a growth market, like, is it like a secondary growth market or a primary growth market? There are some thoughts on that.
Just would like to give one thought to it. I mean, recently, probably in the last 1 year, we have seen gameplays. Those are targeting just the Indian audience. There are publishers who are uh, developing the games based on Indian characters, and they have maps and everything, which is Indianized version. So they do have the names of the characters, the maps, even the entire app is targeting the Indian audience. So I mean, we have 1/6 population of the world, and probably the people who are graduating each year are like more than the total population of some of the European countries. So we have the huge market, the mobile penetration and the upcoming, as we've seen, and we have spoken about it a lot of times. The 5G networks, things are coming, and people are, I mean, especially Gen Zs and people with different ad spending habits, they are coming into the picture. So I think that's the reason, like, oh, at this point, maybe just the Indian publishers are targeting those audience, but probably it'll be a huge success if in future maybe some global companies will come to India first, and then probably they will take game to the rest of the world. So I think that time is coming. So it is just the start. People are accepting it, but it is hard to accept that we are going to set a trend. But yes, it'll be happening from my point of view.
Interesting. Aman, what do you think? Like I mean, in the end, if this has to work, it's there has to be a good margin between like the CPI and the LTV in general, like the ECPMs of it, and the healthy margin is something like anything north of 25%. Do you see that kind of ratio in India since you work on both sides of the business?
Yeah, Balaji. So what we are seeing is like normally I tell you about hyper casual games as well. So these games are like depending on SSP, like they are connecting with SSP and they are like you will be seeing many ads in them, right? So what we are seeing is like these clients also be like need to be aware about like how to create a strategy for their game, like how much revenue you can create like after certain level. So like what we are seeing is like nowadays is they are giving like you need to reach a certain level like level 5 level 6, then they will be making a healthy margin. So in UA campaigns like paid campaigns they are running on Offerwall, they are sharing the campaigns like where they make a healthy 20 or 15% profit, and they say like your user needs to reach at level 6, then they will be paying this ad networks. And there can be different, like Insta can have a different, like that client is aware of like how much CPI they get, like how much margin that a client can calculate by themselves. But as a network, we calculate it on a level base, like okay, this is the level we can reach and this is how you will be making this amount of money.
Cool. Maybe like moving on to like some, specific questions to each one of you, that deals with your area of expertise, right? Maybe start with Ayush. Like, what would you advise to a developer looking to make the next hit game in this space, right? Can you reference from any game that worked in the recent times, and like maybe which elements from this game you think made a difference?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, actually. It will definitely help a lot of developers out there who are looking to get into, hybrid casual sort of things or even hyper casual sort of things, and are frustrated a bit because of, not getting enough success out of it. So again, according to us, according to Supersonic, what we think is like we can give a lot of suggestions. There's already a library of, things, plethora of library of things on our website to help user understand and create their own games, get their ideation tips and whatnot. And I'll try to be as quick as possible because we are all on a clock. So I'd say that everything should start from the ideation itself. The core ideation should be around 3 aspects. First of all, the first one is game vision, then we have game POC, and then we have selling points. And this is based on the recent trends that we are seeing, the recent headwinds that we are seeing. So I'll quickly explain the 3. Game vision is something wherein you are not just looking at the game from a marketability point of view. You're also looking at level design, level progression, and what will the user be wasting or investing their time on for the gameplay experience at day 3 even. So that is something that you should keep in mind before jumping into and start prototyping the concept that you have. The second thing is game POC, wherein you have to think about the, how do I say it? Like already proven ideas are there, which have been published, which have been scaled, which have been highly profitable as well in terms of hyper casual. And what we have seen is hybrid casual, or the recent games that are getting profitable these days, is basically another layer of engagement on built on top of those kind of games. So you can also take references from those kind of games, pivot them to a different proven another engaging gameplay attached those two, and come up with something interesting. Additional layer of gameplays which makes sense with the progression. And the third thing is basically the selling point. So now how could you sell the gameplay experience to the user in terms of ads? Has to be something that has to come in your mind very, very quickly, and it has to be very, very meaningful as well. It's not just like we can give X amount of coins for an RV watch. It has to be something more meaningful with the progression. And users' time is very valuable. We all know if they don't like the progression, if they don't like the reward system, they'll quickly shut down the app and go to the next one. It's very easy for them. So these 3 things, if you have you are ideating on a concept. If you want to create a concept on, let's say, rubber bands, so you have to keep these 3 things into the mind and then start on jumping on a prototype. So these 3 things will definitely improve your the first version or the POC that you are creating, and will definitely help you along the lines to learn what to make next if this one is not successful. Yeah, that's and giving an example. So one of case is like it's a really good case of merge miners, which we recently published. It's a good profitable game, and with very, very good engagement. So what happened was merge were always there, like in terms of gameplay as a mechanic for hyper casual game, and the runner aspect of it was already there. Like the satisfying runner element was already published a couple of times in the past. What it did was to add the merge before so it's a pre-level gameplay of merge, and then you have the runner element. So basically
the
the
merge miner. Which one are you talking?
merge miners.
Merge miners that goes down, right? Or no?
Correct. It's a second part is runner. The pre-level part is merging. So you get a grid, you merge different items, and then you just go down to hit different boxes, loot boxes and gift boxes. So it's a great game to take inspiration from in terms of, like, let's say, monetization, even for progression. And a lot of small things have proven to be really vital for the game, such as let's say a gift box appearing after every run. So what happens is you merge all the tools, you go down, you hit or not hit the main goal of the game, and then you come back to the grid and do the same thing again. So when you come back to the grid, suddenly a gift box appears out of nowhere because you have collected it going down the runner bit. And when you tap on the gift box, what you get is a new tool, which is even more high level than what you have. So now you get the reward system, but also it is linked to an RV. So what happens is once you know that it has a better tool than you already have, now you want it because you can do much better than previous one, and then you watch an RV for it. So it's a great example of how you can learn through playing merge miners and take inspiration from it. And it is a very engaging game. So definitely have a look at it. And one small thing I would like to add as well is like we have recently, I think it's still running, our competition for follow the formula. Merge is one of the formula that we really encourage the developers to go with. One is merge, one is assembly, because there's a bit of gift element that you can add to the gameplay for merge, wherein users can get surprised by what they are getting in terms of in clicking a rewarded video. So that is something that highly engages the user, just not for the game but also for the RVs.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing, by the way. A couple of things, you make it so, you made it sound so easy. I'm tempted to just open up my own studio and make a game, but just a reality check. How many, what's the ratio do you think of prototypes being tested to games being released? Just since a lot of developers are following this session, it would be good to give them some kind of a reality check, right? Because in the end, you don't want people to leave,
Definitely.
think like,
Definitely.
okay, there is a formula for success.
Yeah, I think we started with the headwinds, and we all know it's not that great as it used to be, let's say in 2020 or 2019 even. So I don't have a number per se, but of course, it's relatively a little bit lower than what we used to have, and we can see this with not just a publisher per se, but with also the developers. They are creating much more highly engaging games, and this is why they are testing less games. So let's say a developer or a big studio was testing 5 to 8 hyper casual games. Now with deeper engagement, deeper progression, they are able to, let's say, create 3 or 4 games only. So it's half of the games are cut down from the developers testing as well. So that explains basically most of the things that's happening in the market.
Interesting. And since you mentioned merge, right, and then from this we go to our next panelist. But I just a quick question on that. Do you think it's a seasonal trend, or this is a trend that's going to stay, or is it a mechanic that stays live forever?
Mechanics never go out of fashion, man.
Really?
A genre might go out of fashion. Like, let's say a runner might go out of fashion, but a mechanic of stacking things in a runner will not go out of fashion. You'll have different kinds of stacking and different kinds of gameplays, and that you can see idle arcades, they have stacking in it. So when I say merge is a mechanic. It's not an entire genre of itself. You can attach merge to idle arcade, you can attach merge to runner, you can attach merge to puzzle, you can attach merge to everything you want to. So yeah,
you mentioned that because for the longest time, hyper casual mechanic was the genre, right? But
yeah.
Moving from there, since we talked a lot about ad strategies and how new RVs or new placements make a difference in the LTV of the game, maybe a question to you, Arpit, any recommendations that you can say that developers or publishers can try in the current landscape or the future?
Sure. Yeah. So, when you're talking about the ad monetization strategy, it is as iterative as, creating a game itself, right? So whatever time you are spending on, kind of iterating on the game mechanics, figuring out how your funnel is looking, you have to spend, if not more, the same amount of time in figuring out what your placements need to be, how are you, what is the UX, UI of the user, what kind of formats you're using. So I would just like to mention probably 3 or 4, points which are currently either new or which are running at scale, especially with the gaming apps that we work with. So the first thing that a lot of publishers are now using very, very strongly is bidding and mediation, right, in terms of their monetization. So a lot of small or medium level studios rely on one particular network, which in most cases is Google, or some publishers might add Facebook as their ad providers. But over the last few months and years, we've seen studios really going out to test 5 to 6 different ad networks, and using bidding as a strategy to compete the performances, or mediation waterfalls, right? So in bidding, obviously you can get the highest bidder to show their ad. How a waterfall mediation helps is that you can actually price your users differently. So for example, we took an example of India, and India being such large country, you always get a lot of volume of users, but not all of them are actually at the same let's say quality in terms of the advertiser, what the advertiser is looking for. So some top 1 to 5% would have a much higher purchasing power than let's say that the bottom of the funnel, right? And those might be as comparable to the tier 1 audiences as well. So what a lot of publishers are doing now, and not just in India but globally, is that they are actually tiering, making a tier of the pricing strategy by putting different floors. and catching the audiences at higher floors if the advertiser is willing to pay higher for them, and also making sure that they are not losing out of revenues by putting in lower floors as well. So instead of just asking for one response or one ad from the advertiser, they are asking for different like 3 to 4 different responses at different price points, so that they can capture different segments of users. And that is made very, very easily available by mediation platforms like Iron Source, as well as AppLovins Max, which a lot of gaming publishers are using very, very widely. So that is one of the trends that we've seen, impacting and helping on increasing those LTVs that we were talking about, because getting CPIs down is difficult in such a competitive market, right? So that is one thing. Apart from that, I mean, we obviously with gaming, since it is kind of very, very creative kind of a world, we continuously think about the creative ad formats which can be adopted. So I mean, I remember like back in the day, we were among the first platforms to actually launch in-game ads. So you can actually have ads within your games as a virtual billboard, or as having a logo on the back of a car, or things like that, which are now which are now accessible via programmatic advertisers. So
do they give similar ECPMs as like rewarded videos or interstitials?
So not as rewarded videos or interstitials, but the ranges are probably closer or slightly higher than the banners, because that's the kind of real estate that a native ad would also eventually end up taking on the screen. The thing is that the banners have more or less the fixed spots which you can put up. A native can, go around with the character. It can be, it can be as small as an icon, or it can be, it can be like a virtual billboard, which can,
It depends on like your game design capabilities, how
exactly.
how many times they show, right? The impressions are showing without interrupting.
So but that the good part about it is that it does not look like an ad. So the users are not as frustrated as they are by seeing a banner ad or an interstitial. And at the same time, it is like a banner. So it keeps on, it can be as long as the session length of the game. You can continuously have a native ad, and this is something that has been used by all the social media companies, right? So they don't show any standard banners or interstitials, they just show native. So that is something that again we've seen picking up. In fact, a couple of companies in the West are also doing very well. For example, Anzu has also raised some money recently on the native in-game ads thing. So that is something that we also do with a lot of our publishers, and we see incremental revenues there. The third interesting format or observation on the monetization side is actually in-game audio ads. So again, we've started hearing about audio ads since the last 1.5 2 years. I've seen few implementations of audio ads which can be very, very seamlessly integrated in your game, again depending on the genre of the game, or how the gameplay is. But again, it's something that would not actually distract users unless audio is a big component of your game itself, and it can go in parallel with the gameplay. And if users are interested, they can opt in to click and go to the advertiser website. So again, another ad format which you can include, which would not hurt user experience, and can continuously give you more and more revenue if the users are playing your game.
Looks like something that users have to get used to, right? It's like hearing your ads while you're hearing video or news, right? Sorry, the radio or the news. It's just
actually, I saw one implementation of audio ads. So it was like a simulation game where you can enter into cars, and like similar to a GTA game. And as soon as you enter a car, it starts playing ads on audio. So it looks like you are actually
that's clever.
Ads on a radio. And then it's a small button which pops up on the right side, which is the advertiser logo. You can click it and go to the website.
Coming to you, Pankaj, since we are talking a lot about user acquisition, and then creatives plays a big part in it, right? It's the first point of interaction for your user, like when you test a game, or when you launch a game, or you scale a game. So any insights from you in terms of any trends you can share in terms of creatives, or any specific formats that perform better from a conversion or engagement point of view?
Sure. I was just listening to Arpit, and he has covered really good point about the ad integration. I mean, it is very important for us to have audience engagement and their interest throughout the game. I mean, if we have like too many games, and too many ads, and they are into so frequent gap, and there are similar ads repeating in the same frequency. I mean, that will have less interest for the audience. So people have to think of a different way, whether they can have interesting ad, which is one, the ad format, uh, the timing of the ad, whether they are rewarding ads, or probably they can have ad with the full screen, so that they can grasp the full attention of the player. In the recent past, we all are aware that the new game formats like the video format of games of the ads are really famous. The playable ads they can have, probably if you have more than one game. So in like each other game, I mean, you can integrate your own ads because you will have the similar audience, and you can have more downloads for your own app or your own game. So that is one thing. The ad format is important because see, if you have to target the right audience, and if you have to keep them playing even after they are watching the ad, so you have to keep them engaged. So that is important. Along with it, when we say the hyper casual, I think hyper casual games are for everyone, but that doesn't mean that we can play any kind of ad for that sake. uh, we have a vast audience, but we can target our audience by different demographies as well. So UA campaigns, I mean, you have to optimize your ad, you have to keep on checking the performance on the ads. So anything which is more famous or more successful, probably we can learn from them. I mean, we have different tools available in the market that can show you like what all ads are really optimizing, or they have more downloads. We can inspire from them. We can have our own inspiration along with it. So these are the things that we have to consider. Also, we have, I mean, we can try to keep our ads quite simpler, because the audience that we'll be targeting through the hyper casuals, they'll be like a simple audience. So the more simpler our ads are, I think the chances for the optimizations are high. So
No
I
noise
mean, that's
created, right? Basically, in 3 seconds, the rule of thumb is like in 3 seconds,
yeah,
understand what the game is. Cool.
right,
Uh,
right.
sorry, someone was saying something. No.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool. So moving on from here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Pankaj. Do you have something more to add to this?
No, that's all. I mean, that's all. I mean,
And
thank you.
and just to touch point on like the big part of this game, right, which is 50% of this game, like user acquisition. Question for you, Aman, would be like, is there any specific UA channels you would recommend going forward, and specifically like any thoughts on playing around with ROAS like the return on ad spend windows because it used to be pretty short, right? But seeing that is changing now. I mean, in both in terms of engagement as well as the cost to acquire users. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, hi Balaji. So as I was telling you, so like there are different strategies now you can use. So a app developer who is developing a app, like they should like use a professional ad network who can like give them better strategies, like what will be working. So like if you have very little installs, like 1K, 2K, then there is a strategies like you can run offer wall campaigns, recommended campaigns, and then you can like slightly move on, like spend some money on social media platforms, like give some money to like hire some influencers, and you need to track the performance, like which channel is performing you for you. Like if a offer wall is performing for you, shift more budget there. Like if influencer campaign is working better for you, just do that, or like post some memes, go viral. Like so there are many strategies like nowadays you can do, but a benefit of working with the ad network is like they are willing to take a risk on your behalf. Like if you want to get more returns like per user, then like these ad networks they will take, because they will make money if a client makes money. So they will take a more risk, like they will on their end try more strategies. Like they will try influencers and these social and these UA like offer wall campaigns on their end only. So you don't need like advertiser don't need to worry about these things. Ad network can take care of it. Like they can just focus on which channel is working better for them. And coming on ad spends, like as I told you, like return on per user, like ad networks can do that. Like you can just specify like from one user, this is the amount of revenue I need to create in this hyper casual game. Like a user should reach like level 10 or level 15, and that's where I like make money, like a client makes money. So yeah, like then you can just give a KPI to a ad network, like okay, you, if I'm getting one user from you, this is a level they should reach. That's only
So
like
it's
when
more
I will be
like
paying you money.
beyond performance. Nice. Thank you guys. So much interesting insights, information, right? And we have some questions from the audience. But before that, probably a fun thing to ask each one of you. Any prediction that you can share for till end of the year? Let's talk about the next year, right?
I think the number of gaming users in India would continue to increase. That's an easy prediction, I guess.
All right.
Pankaj or Ayush?
Yeah,
Sure.
that is
So
right. Like,
go ahead,
sorry.
Pankaj. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, that is correct. That the more users will be adding, the gaming game player size will be keep on increasing for probably next few years. So I mean, everyone is predicting it. Another point that we have recently seen, the esports is again like making a boom. People are accepting esport as a sport. So there are a lot of competitions are going around. So there is federation with the India as well. So they are participating in different global competitions as well, and I think they have won some of them. So people are accepting it. So it's not just a child's play kind of thing. So it's a serious business. People are involving. There are big players are involving in the business. Yeah. So future is good. I mean, that's all we can predict.
Very
Yeah.
optimistic. Ayush?
Yeah, so I was going to say that since everyone is predicting that the number of mobile gamers in India will increase, and esports gamers in India will increase, I'd say that the number of studios that get published their game, high revenue games from India will also definitely increase in the coming year, and we are already seeing good rise in the amount of studios that are doing really well from India. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, Balaji. So the same opinion from my side. Like we are seeing like advertisers are spending more on these games, and like they spend more and we will be making more money. So yes, like it's going good for us, and we are seeing more ads on every channel right now, and we are getting more clients. So yeah, we are expecting it will be growing in like maybe for next 2 or 3 years. After that, we can't predict what type of game will be coming in market. But for now on, we are thinking like, yeah, it will grow.
Nice, and I wish you all good luck with your predictions. And then let's open the floor for some Q&A from the audience, maybe. Oh, there are some questions. This is interesting. What CPIs are you seeing for the Indian market for hyper casual games? Who wants to take this? Is there an average you can share? Is there a range you can share?
So, I mean, whatever we've seen on our end, especially on the bigger platforms like Google, Facebook, I think the range can go from, let's say, 2.5 rupees INR to up to 7 or 8 rupees INR within India, and depends on
CPI,
complexity of the CPI. Yes, for Indian users. On an average, you can see it like between 4 to 5
That's
rupees,
pretty
I think.
interesting. It's been a long while since I heard that number.
Yeah, if your creative strategy is pretty optimized, you can reach those numbers. And obviously, once you scale up, your CPIs would continue to rise.
Cool. There's a question about RMG, but I don't know if it's relevant to this one. Okay, there's a question about waterfall. I think someone was speaking about waterfall, right? I want to ask about monetization in hyper casual game. What waterfall is an ideal waterfall for the game? I'm not sure I understand this question, but sure. I think the user is trying to ask what kind of waterfall strategies are ideal for like hyper casual games.
Sure. I mean, so like I said that, in terms of users, and hyper casual has a wide array of users. So you tend to get users from different, segments from the purchasing power perspective. So it is good to have, at least, 4 to 5 different pricing points on which you run a waterfall. It can increase to, up to 8 to 10 as well. But you can optimize it to, 4 or 5 partners at different pricing points to get the best out. And again, it's something that is, specific to game, and it's an iterative process. So you can start with, any number, but, eventually you need to continuously iterate on it to reach the best strategy for your particular case.
But isn't the talk in the market that waterfall bidding is going to go away sometime next year?
Yeah, so the waterfall is going away. Now partners are moving more towards bidding or open bidding. So and that would again mean that you are competing. You have different partners competing for your inventory. Till the time it is there, I mean, folks can
Which
use
is
it.
great, right?
Yeah.
At the end, then it
Maximize.
doesn't depend on you don't need that much manpower, and then it moving more towards the open market, right?
Correct.
Maybe this question is for you, Pankaj. How do we get started making ads for hyper casual games? How do you get started?
I mean, one suggestion that I would like to add, I mean, that is what is that you have to avoid. I mean, do not add any screenshot from a different game or something which is not a part of your own game, just to attract the customers. Maybe you can have some football, but with the same pace you can have the install. So I mean, be natural and try to have screenshots or the videos from your own game. Maybe you can have some tweaks like a family of 2 or probably 2 kids are playing games. You can have the screenshot of your own game with a happy family, that kind of way. But do not just add anything which is not a part of your game. So we have seen in the past some games they have affected. They were not very big game. They were trying to. They were aiming to big, and they had uh, I mean different ads with different videos and a screenshot from something which is nowhere related to them. And I mean, people do download, they do install the app, but they don't find what they actually interested for. So I mean, don't do that. I think be simple, be realistic, and you will have your own audience, I think. Yeah.
Nice. There's one question. What's a good ECPM for hyper casual game? I don't know for which market. Let's assume for the US, right? Since everybody wants to make money from there. Anybody wants to answer that? Let's say ECPM for monetization, right? I'm just assuming that's what this user is trying to ask.
I mean, again, ECPM is a metric which depends on a lot of things. I mean, just not like the market, but like the format, the unit which you are using, and also, where is it in the flow of the game. But I mean, I would not put up a number for a particular, market. What I can say is that,
Or rather, what would be a good goal to reach, right? That's a good way to look at this question.
So again, see, the thing is that you can, put a very high ECPM floor. You would still get some advertisers run ads, but they might not buy your entire inventory, right? So it is, how do you optimize between the fill rates and the ECPM that would give you the highest revenue. So like having a ECPM target is actually not a right approach. I would say the approach should be how much revenue you are making per user in that particular market. That number needs to go up, irrespective of the number of ads that you're showing to the users, or whatever ECPM of that particular ad is. But yeah, I mean, on general, if you compare, markets like tier 1 markets like US, Germany, Australia, versus, let's say, markets like India, Southeast Asia, you would see a difference of anywhere from 5 to 10x in terms of the ECPM numbers.
Okay, there's one very interesting question. I've not seen this before, so I'm going to open this up. We see a lot of portals selling market segmentation data for $5,000. How can we verify the authenticity and source of this data? Anyone wants to take this? I've never done this. I've never bought any kind of data like this before, but does anyone of you have experience in buying this kind of market segmentation data or selling rather?
So you can't verify it. Like normally, you can't verify any data. Like if you are getting a device ID from anyone, like you just need to take it.
It's like
Like
cold calling, right? It's like cold calling. You just
yeah,
buy
but
and
yeah, but there are like certain verified DSPs like DMPs like Blue Sky and like which you can use, and that is a verified data.
but
Like they
how
will
do you
be
use it?
making.
You can't target these users anyways, right?
No, no, like you can, like if you are using a programmatic platform, you can
Ah,
just buy
the
from that like that DMP data. Like you can bid on it. Like there is a certain CPM you need to pay above the actual CPM. Like, but like yeah, you can buy a verified data. Like you don't need to buy data from an unauthentic source. You can just go like and on a programmatic DSP, and like there are verified sources where you can buy this data.
Mhm.
Right? I don't think like anybody should buy a data for $5,000. That won't make any sense.
I agree. There's maybe one last question. As a small studio, is there a way to diversify revenue streams beyond Play Store and App Store, like WebGL, H6 version on Crazy Games? I'm assuming it's H5. Or Yandex, or any diversification strategies that any of you guys would recommend beyond Play Store and App Store? Nope. I guess that's like 98% of the market anyways, right? So anything.
Correct. That's what I was going to say, that, Play Store and App Store covers up most of the market. And
The red, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's a red ocean in the end of the day, right? And then sure, if you find something where you have, you don't have to spend time, and it's more like a auto. I mean, there are a couple of, I think, stores within the Android stores, on the Android ecosystem, like Samsung has some, but also there are a couple of publishers who focus on the smaller, very niche audiences, right? So if you don't have to do any work there and just like give them like a APK or something, sure, go for it, right? But otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Cool.
I think H5 as a trend can be something which can be interesting for certain games,
For
especially if you're making.
for reach, yes, but monetization, do you think
Monetization is difficult, yeah. But I mean, if you're using like a Unity platform to create games, that you can port it on H5 very, very simply. So you can have another platform, and maybe certain people are better at getting traffic to a website versus an app, and that is something that publishers can look out for.
maybe for like brand reach or cross promotion kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
All right, then we are at the end of the session today. So I guess some of you still have some questions, so feel free to reach out, look out this gentleman in LinkedIn, and ask your questions directly. I'm pretty sure most of them are very welcoming and have an open door policy. And I thank you again to all of you for attending this and sharing your very valuable insights. So have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Balaji. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you,
for
everyone.
hosting this.
And,
Pankaj, thank you.
yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Take care. Bye bye.